What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on TGM Guitars. Just want to say thank you to everyone who's subscribed recently, left comments. It's good to get some discussions going and starting to get near to 100 subscribers, which is pretty cool. I know I've been a bit lackluster with my uploading schedule. As I mentioned in the last video, I've just been a bit busy. So I've been trying to record when I can. But anyway, let's jump into the topic of this video. So being in a covers band, I spend a lot of time learning new songs, whether that's to add into the set list, or in my case, what I've recently done is joined a new band that's already done gigs before and had a whole set list to learn. So what I thought it'd be good if I went over the kind of tips that I can give for learning a full set list of songs, a single song, and sort of how I process it and get around to learning them all. So I seem to have a way that worked for me. This might work for some of you guys, might not work at all. So if you're having a bit of trouble learning multiple songs at once or getting your head around a certain song, maybe employ some of these tips and see if they help you out. So without further ado, let's jump into tip number one. Okay, so the first tip is a fairly straightforward one, and that is to just listen to the song, then listen to it again, and then just kind of rinse and repeat. Keep listening to it. And it's a bit better if it is a bunch of songs, because you won't get completely bored and fed up of the same song over and over again. But it really kind of helps your brain get around the way the song's meant to sound, the way it feels, the kind of structure. And to me, it really helps. So what I'll do is I'll set up a playlist on Apple Music or Spotify, depending on what you guys are using, and I'll literally just listen to that song. And it's the way that I learn a whole set list for the band I'm currently in. I literally put their set list into Spotify or into Apple Music, in my case is what I was using, and just listen to that and repeat. Taking breaks in between, of course. You don't want to get completely burnt out listening to the same stuff. But it kind of, as I said, just gets in your head and you start to just recognise how that song should sound, how it should all play out, how it should work. And for me, that just really helps. Okay, so tip number two is to actually go onto YouTube and find somebody who's already covered that song, that's got a good close-up of their guitar, or even if it is watching the person who you're trying to learn their song, watching some live footage of them and seeing how they move about the fretboard, how they actually play it. And it's a really good sort of indicator as to what parts of the song you might find tricky, what part of the song you might find just a little bit kind of weird, or it doesn't make sense in your head. You might be listening to it and thinking, I can't figure out how he's going from that chord to that chord. It's a good way, just watch somebody else do it, watch the guy or girl who wrote the song do it, and just kind of pick up on things. The visual cues can be a sort of real helping hand when it comes to learning these songs. And if you notice, I've not even got to you picking the guitar up yet and learning the guitar, and that will be the next step. So step number three, or tip number three, is to get up some tabs. I know a lot of people will turn around and say, oh, you don't need tabs, you can learn it by ear. But if you're on a time constraint, you won't have time to sit there and work it all out. I know I'm talking about watching somebody else play it. You could probably sit there and work out some of the shapes. But ultimately, tabs can get you on the right track, get you in the ballpark of that song. They're not 100% correct, we all know that. They're not the best. You might find some that are brilliant, some that are bad. If you've got an official tab book from that band, it might be good. But what you can do with that is learn the kind of basics of that song, and then you can kind of pick out where the tabs are kind of leaving little bits out or a little bit lackluster, and build upon that. But it gives you the necessary building blocks in order to start learning that song, and maybe even pull up a YouTube video of somebody teaching you the song. Because as I said before, the visual cues can have quite a good effect on getting your brain around that song and how somebody is managing to play certain parts. And that kind of moves on nicely to the next tip. Well, I've almost forgot to add, I've kind of gone in and added this in a little bit later. Once you found those tabs, go in and practice to either that video that you're watching the person play it, or the original song itself, or a live version. Don't start practicing with a backing track, and I'll come on to that kind of later, the backing track thing. But ultimately, you want to be able to play along and have the confidence and build up to playing that song on your own, because it can be really off-putting if you start hearing just yourself, hearing yourself in isolation, and it might kind of put you off and make you think that you're doing things wrong. And you'll kind of reach that point that when you start playing, you will hear your guitar and the person you're playing along with. You'll hear them separately, and it's a kind of point where they merge into each other and you start to just hear them as one. And that, to me, is when you can start moving on, maybe pick up a backing track because you have got that down. It kind of helps you get the basics and get up to speed with that song, and get used to it without having to worry about 100% what you sound like. That can come later on. That's part of the development process, at least for me it is. Okay, so tip number 4, and this kind of comes from watching other people play it, you playing it yourself and listening to it. Identify any trouble sections. Now that might be a solo, that might be a breakdown, that might be a quick riff. It might something that you're not 100% at. For me, it will be solos. I am really lazy. If I don't have to learn a solo, if a song can sound all right with an improvised solo in that key, I will go ahead and do that any day. I will not bother to learn the actual solo. But some songs that just doesn't work for. So going in and identifying, I might find that hard, that's a fast run, that's not my strong point. I'm going to focus on that, try and build it up to speed and work on it. And yes, it means sitting there and going over and over and over, but it is the best way to do it, in my opinion. As I said, all of these tips are kind of, they might work for you, they might not. But for me, it helps to identify those trouble sections and just practice them over and over and over. So that's the next tip. Just, identify those sections and keep practicing. Okay, so step number 5, go and find yourself a backing track. I mentioned earlier that you want to play along to the original song because the backing track can make you feel isolated. You start to hear all your mistakes. And early on, you don't want to do that with a song. You want to be able to build your confidence, get used to playing it. If you miss a chord, you can hear it. And it's kind of just that thing, it doesn't knock your confidence as much, but a backing track is a lot different. So I use guitarbackingtrack.com. If you sign up on there, you get, I think it's 3 or 4 downloads a day. And then if you make a backing track and upload it, you get unlimited. So it's a good way of getting hold of some free versions of backing tracks. You can find them on YouTube as well, but this is sort of my preferred method, the website I go on. And download a backing track, start playing along with that. And now you can hear your guitar in isolation. Hopefully, because you've built up to it and you've been kind of working alongside the original track or watching somebody on YouTube, you should feel a bit more confident and be able to just go straight for it. And you won't hear too many issues in your own playing. But it's important to be able to hear those issues and be able to fix them. And at the end of the day, you playing in isolation, the backing track with that guitar removed, you will start to notice those things and you can improve them. Okay, so tip number 6, and this is going to sound like a stupid one, but practice. Just practice, just keep doing it. Rinse, repeat. As I said earlier, it's like listening with a song. You just keep doing it over and over again. At the end of the day, a lot of guitar is muscle memory. Remembering where your hands go, remembering what shape you play. And you just practicing that song over and over again. Yes, you'll get bored of it, you'll get sick of it, but honestly, when you get into that gig environment and you nail that section that you've been practicing and slaving over, it feels so good. It's unbelievable. And I know I've been talking sort of learning for a band. This might be learning for a YouTube channel, learning to upload something to Instagram. It all works the same. Just keep practicing it. You'll get natural at it. And when you nail that take or that playthrough, you will absolutely love it at the end of the day. As much as you might hate that song through playing it over and over again, and I'm sure my parents will agree that they heard a few songs a few too many times over and over again, but that's how you do it. That's how you get good at something. You just keep practicing. And most of guitar is that. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day about how some people have just got it on guitar. I very much believe that if you just keep practicing, if you keep at it, if you don't give up, you can play guitar, you can play any instrument. And well, except for singing, I'm pretty sure most people can attest that I will never be able to sing. But anyway, just keep practicing, you'll get good at it. Okay, so they've just been a few tips that I personally use in order to learn songs, whether that's a single song or a big chunk of songs, and it really helps me. Having that sort of structured way of working through songs, and it's taken me a while to get used to that. It's just a really good way for me to take in the song and get good at it at the end of the day, and learn it and be proficient enough to play it in a band environment where all eyes, I don't want to sound like I'm being cocky, but all eyes are kind of on you when you're in a band. And by that I mean the whole band. If you make a mistake, everyone's going to notice it, let's be honest. So it kind of builds up your confidence, it gets you used to that song. And I think if you follow these steps, if you've been having trouble learning songs and getting them down to a standard that you can play them live, try out these tips. They might work, they might not work, and at the end of the day, this is what works for me and helps me learn songs. Thank you for watching. If you've made it to the end, please be sure to leave some comments in the description, maybe some tips that you've got or ways that you learn songs. It might be completely different, but at the end of the day, if it works for you, it works for you. It'd be good to get kind of people sharing, and let me know. It'll be interesting to see if there's ways that I can improve my techniques for learning songs, and yeah, it'd be great for people to share. Also, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. As I said at the beginning of the video, starting to near 100 subscribers. I believe the point I'm actually recording this video, we're on 85, so it'd be kind of cool to get up there to 100 subscribers, and hopefully beyond if you enjoy my videos. But anyway, thanks for watching. Comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you guys in the next one. Cheers.